All right. Another week has gone by in the Ottawa protest. Some call it an occupation, some call it a siege, some call it a protest. I think these last few days, this is being recorded on February 15th, 2022. And I would say that the these last few weeks have really given us examples of the old phrase, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. And it is really, the quickening between the different narratives is has not let up. Before I forget to mention, if you're watching this after the fact, you will find timestamps in the description below for, all the different things that I'm going to cover here. But this should be a pretty quick one because despite how insane these last couple of days have been, I have a feeling that we're in the waiting phase for something that's really going to happen. And the main thing that is at the top of most people's minds is Justin Trudeau yesterday invoked the Emergencies Act, which used to be known as the War Times Act, which would give extra powers to the government to be able to deal with these protests in a more efficient way. Now, one thing that I want to make clear, and it was kind of clear to me in the mere fact that they used the term invoke instead of enact or activate or some word like that. Basically, the speech that Justin Trudeau gave yesterday was basically asking Parliament to consider that. And I am going to go right into this Twitter thread, which was linked to me by a friend earlier today. I haven't read it, but it should be an interesting read to give people a clear idea of what the implications of this speech are. So let's go to this is the Canadian Civil Liberties Association on Twitter. I have never heard of them before. Actually, you know what? I'm going to follow them right now. Boom, done. And this thread isn't that long, but I think it'll give a nice overview of what is going on. So let's read. The federal government has not met the threshold necessary to invoke the Emergencies Act. Okay, well, with a name like Civil Liberties Association, we can expect them to be against this. Anyone who believes in freedom should be. Dare I say, even if you live in Ottawa. This law creates a high and clear standard for a good reason. The act allows government to bypass ordinary democratic processes. This standard has not been met. The Emergencies Act can only be invoked when a situation seriously threatens the ability of the Government of Canada to preserve the sovereignty, security, and territorial integrity of Canada, when the situation cannot be effectively dealt with under any other law in Canada. Lastly, governments regularly deal with difficult situations and do so using powers granted to them by democratically elected representatives. Emergency legislation should not be normalized. It threatens our democracy and our civil liberties. You know what? That is good. There is another, I'm going to find another thread by a friend of the show, Layman. Well, here's the thing. Layman is more knowledgeable and interested in Canadian politics than I am. I'm interested now, but that's like being a hockey fan when your local hockey team makes the Stanley Cup finals, or being a football fan when your local football team makes it to the Super Bowl. My interest in Canadian politics doesn't really count. It doesn't really meet that standard, so to speak. So, to gatekeep myself, I'll give Layman the nod here. He was talking with Heem earlier today. Let me just find this. It shouldn't be too long. Actually, I will go in. He was interacting with Vosh as well. Wait. In this tab here. Hours ago. Jesus Christ, he was active today, which is understandable because, man, it's really cool that this movement has inspired other movements worldwide. That's fucking amazing. Where is it? Well, that took too long. I should have found it before the fact. But the bottom line is, as the very words suggest, the Emergencies Act have only been invoked, so it's not law yet. I don't know the extent to which the Parliament is leaning for or against enacting it, but let's just say that if it does go into effect, it's going to be really scary because here. Because come on, I want the right clip. This should be the one. This is a soundbite, but let's just take a listen.
This is about following the money. This is about stopping the financing of these illegal blockades. We are today serving notice. If your truck is being used in these illegal blockades, your corporate accounts will be frozen. That's
one thing that I've noticed. Well, this has probably been the case since at least a week, but they no one in the government calls this a protest. They're calling it a blockade, an occupation, and they'll use the term illegal to describe it. It's kind of nuts. Like one man's protest is another man's illegal occupation. Let's continue.
The insurance on your vehicle will be suspended. Send your semi-trailers home. The Canadian economy needs them to be doing legitimate work.
That's another thing. The rhetorical trick of framing this as, well, it's not just rhetorical because there is legitimacy to the claim of disrupting the economy. That those two bridges that were blocked, they're important. I think like 25% of Canada-U.S. trade goes through one of those bridges. It's not something to scoff at. Let's continue. This isn't the clip that I was looking for, but it's interesting anyway. Let's finish it.
Not to be illegally making us all poorer. This
all right.
is about...
Let's try... wait, I'm going to try Luke Rudowski because he had the clip that I... Luke, we are change here. And if I go into his media tab, he tweeted this yesterday, though. Okay, cool. There it is. If the sound is hot, I apologize because the other clip was really low. Yeah.
First, we are broadening the scope of Canada's anti-money laundering and terrorist financing rules so that they cover crowdfunding platforms and the payment service providers they use.
There we go.
These changes cover all forms of transactions, including digital assets, such as cryptocurrencies.
More on that in a second.
Blockades have highlighted the fact that crowdfunding platforms and some of the payment service providers they use are not fully captured under the Proceeds of Crime and Terrorist Financing Act.
Terrorist financing. Now, the thing is, as whatever her name is mentioned, if this comes into effect, if this becomes the law of the land, it will be a code violation to finance this trucker protest by any means, including cryptocurrency. This is an obvious intimidation ploy. And, you know, if you want to engage in civil disobedience, you know, tip of my hat to you. But there is one thing that I want to make clear because I think that, you know, the whole fiasco with GoFundMe and GiveSendGo. GiveSendGo was hacked. It was taken down. And even though they're up right now, or at least they were up last time I checked earlier today, they, you know, the actual GiveSendGo organization and also the people, certainly the Canadians who donated to it, are under pressure. You know, this is a tactic of intimidation, but all of this makes cryptocurrencies more appealing. But I just want to give a bit of information which might help you avoid doing something stupid. Let me see here. Truckers bit. I should have saved this. But yeah, exactly. Fucking Google isn't going to give me what I want, but I can go another way. DuckDuckGo to the rescue. Truckers. Where is it? I'll put my browser on screen once I find it. Let's see here. Damn it, this is harder to find than I thought. Let me try Twitter. Man, one thing that I want to point out is that Twitter search engine is very good. It might not be as good as Google, but it's in the same ballpark. Truckers, Bitcoin. There it is, Bitcoin truckers. This should be it. Yep, this is the site that I was looking for. And once it's completely loaded, I'll put it on screen. And then I can go on my rant because again, if you're not into crypto, wait. Why is it spinning? Oh, this might be a blockchain thing because Blockchain technology is very interesting, but it's very slow. I don't know why it's taking this long. For sure, they've raised more than zero sat. Let me just try to refresh here. Really? Did they get hacked or something? Well, there's clearly something going on with this site, but the point that I want to make is equally valid and too important for me to let whatever the fuck is going on with this site stop me. So, they're at more than zero sat, which is a satoshi, which is I think 1/10 billionth of a Bitcoin or something. So here's the deal. I just want to put this out there in case someone is not into crypto, has no idea what the fuck they're doing, and wants to get into crypto in order to support the trucker cause, which would be a code violation. Well, which might be a code violation. We'll see about that. But the bottom line is, the appealing part of cryptocurrency is that if you decided to do this, there's nothing that could stop the transaction from happening. However, what I'm interpreting, the threat that was made about expanding the money laundering act, I don't think the vulnerability is to stop the transaction from happening and confiscating your Bitcoin. I confiscating Bitcoin or any crypto is ridiculously difficult. Like, yeah, you can confiscate the wallet, but getting access to it is, if you try to confiscate someone's wallet, then they could just wait you out, and eventually if you let them go, they'll just regain access to it if they did their things correctly. But the bottom line is, if you don't have crypto, the only way to get it, actually there are two ways to get it. You could either find a private seller who's willing to sell it to you, highly unlikely, which is why I initially said there was only one way to do it. The other way is to get it off a crypto exchange. And to make an account on a crypto exchange, you have to dox yourself. Like, a frequent thing that I've heard is to send a picture of your driver's license, that kind of thing. And if I was, let's say I was some boomer who wasn't into Bitcoin and thought Bitcoin is anonymous, and they can't take my crypto anyway, so I might as well get into crypto so I can support the truckers. The stupidest thing I could do would be to get Bitcoin off of some exchange, and then with that exchange, send the Bitcoin directly to this wallet here. The thing to know is that blockchain transactions are visible for everyone. Everyone can look at the blockchain and see every transaction that has ever happened between any wallet. The thing that is hard to do is to prove that a given wallet belongs to a given person. However, as I just said, if I did it the boomer way that I just described, there's proof that the wallet that sent the crypto to this trucker fundraiser belongs to me, or at least is under my control, because I fucking doxed myself to get it. So if you want to engage in civil disobedience that way and you don't know what you're doing, what I would guess is that even though they can't stop you from actually donating Bitcoin to this wallet, since they identified you, they could freeze your actual bank account. I would guess that they could do this. So you have to be careful. And, even if you wanted to do it a slightly more elegant but slightly less stupid way, would be, let me just clear my throat. It would be, let's say, because you can. Shit. How can I explain this? Let's say I had 3 wallets, and I have 3 wallets, not counting the wallet that I created on the exchange by after doxing myself. So now, just to keep it simple, let's say I buy 1 Bitcoin. I'm a rich boomer, and I take this Bitcoin from the exchange and I send it to wallet 1, and then I send that Bitcoin to wallet number 2, and then send that Bitcoin to wallet number 3, and from wallet number 3 I send to the trucker fundraiser. That is nice and all, but you can't be too obvious like that, because there's a new block that's mined every 10 minutes roughly at this point. And even though even though the wallets would be difficult to prove that wallets 1, 2, and 3 are under my control, given the behavior of the transactions, it would be very difficult to let's just say, if the right police interrogator was aware of the blockchain activity between the exchange, wallets 1, 2, and 3, and the trucker fundraiser, if the right interrogator was in the room with you, they could probably put enough pressure on you to get to admit that that it was you. You know. So yeah, I just want to give this really rudimentary introduction to crypto discretion, because if this thing becomes law, I can see a bunch of people getting into Bitcoin for the first time and making really stupid mistakes like the ones I just described. So just be mindful of that. Was there anything else I wanted to discuss? Oh yeah. Okay. I want to discuss the guns that were allegedly found near the Coutts. So let me just close a few tabs here. So the RCMP has released an image of the guns, ammo, and body armor seized at Coutts early this morning. Now, this is the kind of thing that is interesting, because on one hand, and I've made this point a couple weeks ago, not everyone that, let's say there's a cause that you like and that you support, and someone does something shitty at that protest, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're a plant or an agent provocateur. Like, people automatically resorting to this is interesting. It's cute. Yeah, cute is the best word. Now that might be the case, but you know, you'd need a bit more. You'd need a bit more to go on. Now, in the case of these guns near Coutts, I would say that you know, this neat picture that they have produced is, you know, convenient. What would be even more convenient is if they had footage of the cops searching cars and finding the guns, which apparently they don't have. And one thing that I want to point out, because there's a news broadcaster that I have been following since these truckers arrived in Ottawa, called Glenn McGregor. Glenn McGregor is a reporter for CTV National News, which is, you know, it's an official mainstream thing. It's like, let's say MSNBC or NBC. And something that I find interesting about Glenn is that he's very agile for a mainstream reporter. And by agile, I mean that he seems to be on top of things and quick to share his information on Twitter. I have tried finding an official article on the CTV website by Glenn just to get an idea of what how his Twitter activity translates to actual news reports, and I've yet to find any. But hey, that's on me. Okay, I'll just take the L on that one. Now, I don't want to read this thread in particular, but I do want to point this out. So the Ottawa protesters, or the truckers, held a press conference yesterday, and Glenn managed to make his way in and asked him this question, which we will let load here. Won't be too long.
Hold the line. Question for Ms. Leach. Today in Coutts, Alberta, the RCMP arrested 11 people who were found having firearms, ammunition, body armor in their trailers at the blockade site. Can you assure people in this community that none of the protesters who were here have firearms in their trucks or vehicles? What's a lie? I'm asking a question. Do they have fire? Does anybody here have firearms in their trucks? No. Yes or no?
So here's the thing. I'm gonna pause this. I let the video play this long for two reasons. So first of all, that question was obviously bad faith. You know, they're in Ottawa, I believe. They're presumably in Ottawa, and Glenn, after sneaking his way into the press conference, because I doubt they would have let him in if they knew who he was and who he worked for, he just asked this obviously bad faith questions hey, there were a bunch of guns found at the other place. Can you assure people that your people don't have guns too? Obvious bad faith question. However, I think that these truckers kind of botched the answer. As obviously bad faith as the question is, in my opinion, and I'm just some guy, you know, speaking from the comfort of his home after the fact. You know, I'm literally Monday morning quarterbacking here, but for a question like that, I think that the way to play it is to directly answer the question and then try to turn the tables on him. So maybe something like, well, I can assure you that no protesters associated with the trucker convoy will have any. Now, why aren't you asking questions about this thing or that thing? That might have been a better way to play it. But to have this pregnant pause followed by, you know, a bunch of people in the room just calling him a liar, it's not a good look. Let's just say that's definitely an optics faux pas. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that. That is just about all I wanted to say. So if you are still watching, thank you very much. I am very interested in learning what your thoughts on the matter is. So please let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And on that note, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you soon.